All right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Well, I'm sitting down right now with Brian Hirschman, the owner of Indy Hoops, and he's the guy who's running this program right now. It's basically a mythical national championship, only again mythical because you can't really document it. Mythical national championship. It's the first time that they've been here in Dallas, Texas. You operate out of San Diego, is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in San Diego.
I'm going out there Monday. I'm really excited about that. You want to get a little closer to the mic, young man.
Yeah. I want to correct you there, though. It is not a mythical national championship. It's a world championship.
Oh, okay.
And it is the real one, too.
Okay, so well, what's the qualification? I'm just saying because it's only a function of who's participating. But I was just talking earlier to, pardon me, I was talking to Alan, and I said when you walk up down there, you see these guys are between 6'3" and 6'8", and it's kind of easy to look at an overdeveloped body and make presumptions that people are older than they are, but these kids are still 13 to 15 years old. So I think there's a lot of probably pressure on these kids. I said I think that most of these kids enjoy it, but I think there's a little bit of pressure in the sense that they're always being measured. And so the one thing I was going to ask you, first of all, out the gate was, who are probably your best rising 8th and rising 9th grade players? Could you give me a little bit of a preview? But before we start there, how many years have you been running Indy Hoops? How long you guys been going?
So Indy Hoops is, we started in 2012, but I've been running basketball programs, tournaments, leagues out of San Diego for about, I'd say, over 10 years now.
Okay.
So Indy Hoops, I started off with Top Gun Basketball, which is a San Diego local brand, and Indy Hoops is like our national brand. We do rankings for teams. That's how we became known.
Okay.
But for club basketball. So there was nothing that was documenting club basketball. There was just high school. And so we got into the AAU and club basketball.
Well, that's interesting because most of the people who sell their services, they sell the service, evaluate individual players more so than teams. So that's kind of interesting because you guys probably serve a pretty good service to a person's parents who are trying to evaluate maybe what teams they maybe should or shouldn't be playing with. Because, you know, one of the problems with the AAU culture is you have a lot of people like, if you've been in since 2012, right now you're in your 6th year, so right now your 8th graders should be sophomores and juniors in college, and that's when you start, like Alan made a comment about, that's when the proof comes out in the pudding. Are your kids going to Division I? Are they getting drafted and that type of thing? And I think, if you, like I said, if you could spend a little bit of time maybe telling us about some of these better players and maybe about the importance that you feel of a kid getting a look before he gets to high school.
Yeah, so 8th grade, we wanted to do like the Little League World Series for basketball. That was the concept of the Indy World. We started it 3 years ago, and okay, there we go. We started the Indy World 3 years ago, and the Little League World Series of youth basketball. There was nothing like it, and we're like, well, why not? Everyone likes watching the Little League World Series, and the equivalent of that is not 12 years old. We thought it was 8th grade because once you're done with 8th grade club basketball, and then you go into 9th grade, I saw because I was a coach, and I see that things really, really change directly after they end at Indy World. Like there's one more month, and then they're going to go into high school, and everything flips. It's no longer youth basketball, similar to how when Little League is done, you're not youth baseball.
Well, as a former high school basketball coach, I can completely understand what you're saying because, like, you could be near a border of a state, and you might have kids from 3 different states, and they're going to 3 different federations that operate on 3 different principles. I've got one of my nephews is Mike Kabongo that played at Texas, and he got into a little bit of trouble by taking some inducements that he's not supposed to have taken. But when you're dealing, and that's an NCAA issue, which at least is theoretically consistent state to state. But as soon as these kids get done with you in the 8th grade year, then they're going to high school, and it is a lot more difficult because you have a lot more complications.
Well, I was talking more from the standpoint, so these are my 2 lanes that I really stay in, the 8th grade and club basketball. I'm not really into the high school at all. I don't operate anything in high school. And the cool thing about club or AAU basketball, there's pros and cons to everything, but there actually is not really any federation, but there isn't, you actually could hypothetically have a national championship, let's say, because in high school, for example, like a California team can't go to the Dick's Sporting Goods, and so why not?
Right. Well,
right?
no, I didn't articulate what I was saying.
Yeah.
But I'm agreeing with you completely because they have not yet got to the high school federation level.
Yeah.
They're not held hostage by that.
But even in high school club, that's why it's been more attractive. Is that there's no CIF. That's what we call it in California.
Right.
Like they can, it's more freedom. So my lane in 8th grade, a little bit about me is that. I coached in college, and I wanted to be a Division I head coach, but I fell in love with the 7th and 8th grade window, which you can see here is because this is still a moldable age. You could still fix your shot. You could still work on development. Right. Once you get to high school, after your high school here, your skill set better be on point of like what you're going to be as a basketball player after 8th grade. From there, it's you leave it up to whatever. You're going to grow taller or you're going to get stronger, but your skill set needs to be dialed before you hit that high school. And this is just like the end of an era for these kids. They probably played together for a long time. And that's once they go past here, the shoe circuits, that's what I talk about with club. It's all about the shoe circuits, and it becomes more of a business at that point.
Well, the erosion of the skill set. I'm trying not to turn into the grumpy old guy that says, don't walk on my lawn and turn the music down and stuff. But we won a state championship 12 years ago, and I had the player of the year, a kid that played point guard for Coach Knight out of Texas Tech, and I had a kid that played for Buzz Williams up at Marquette. And when they got to me in 8th and 9th grade, their skill set was already developed. And it was, like you said, a function of getting them to be physically stronger, getting them to be coachable. But one of the problems is you get these kids who are so stunted and so stunted on their skill development level, they don't realize that they're way behind. Because you realize after years and years of evaluation, and I understand it for 30 years of seeing the players that you evaluate, that at the end of the day, sometimes there's just not enough time left to fix things. And that's where these kids get in trouble, because they think if they can dunk a basketball, they're going to play Division I basketball. Man, there's managers. You ever watch like a Power 5 conference game when the managers go out and have shootouts? The Michigan State managers shoot against the Michigan managers.
I went to Arizona.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. They're all state players that are out there shooting those basketballs, right? I mean, so I think sometimes people underestimate how difficult it is to get a scholarship. So I think you are right. You've got to get the skill developed at this point in time so that when they do go to the high school level, they're ready to develop the next depth of performance, I guess.
Well, yeah, if you're going to talk about scholarship, the 1%, 2%, you have to have a lot of good things going on in your favor. You have to get a lot of things right. And that's something that I want to transition into doing, which I've already started, is helping the parents understand how to navigate all this. Because if you're new to it, a lot of the teams that you might play for will look great to you when you're young, but they're really the worst thing that can happen for you.
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying.
It could be an all-star team. See a little bit about what we did. Okay, I had a team, and we had seventh graders in San Diego. Okay, and we weren't like the sexy team or anything like that, but I had a couple players that bought into my philosophy, and it basically was this. We were really into fundamentals. It was kind of like a throwback, old school. Like, we really wanted to get the footwork right, the fundamentals, and we wanted to play up. We didn't care about beating people. We didn't play. We just wanted. We said if we went to a tournament and we went 2-2, but we got better because it's about winning the war and not the battle.
Not each battle's right.
And now, like you hit the nail on the head. Now I get to see, okay, this is where my philosophy, where did it go? My point guard is Jalen Hands, McDonald's All-American, played for me 7th and 8th grade. He's the UCLA point guard right now. And then another player, Reed Farley, who's going into a sophomore year at Harvard. So we have 2 Division I players out of, and we weren't this a big team or a big name. They had a lot of talent, but it's really about the coaches have to get the philosophies right, or they're going to hurt a lot of kids, like you've seen. And that's why I love the Indy World 3, because a lot of times we've helped with Indy Hoops structure club basketball a little bit more. And I hope that we are going to start finding, and I think I've seen in the last 5 years, better coaching and I do think we've tilted so far away from skill development. It's bad, the Instagram trainers and all that. But I think it's going to start to come back, because I just believe, yes, go get the best talent, but then after you get it, don't just roll the ball out. Actually show them how to play, and then you're going to be able to be one of the best teams.
Right, and there's one thing that I've seen over the years that I'm sure you can back up, and I really hope that you'll kind of back me up and enforce it right here, is the idea that grades matter, and they matter now. They don't matter later, because I have one of my ex-players right now. 2.5 years ago, Porter Mosier from Loyola called me. I've known Porter forever. One of his assistant coaches calls, hey, we got a kid out there, and I'm not going to mention his name, and he wouldn't mind if I did, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. And when he came and said, we love him as a basketball player, everything's good, so send him tape, everything's good. So he calls me back the next day, and he says, hey, Tom, I need his transcript. So I walked in, and I saw my assistant coach, Baron Brown. I looked at him, I said, man, it's over. He said, what do you mean? I said, they asked for his transcript. We're never going to hear from him again. Because this kid had about a 2.01 GPA, which, of course, if people out there don't understand how it works, the lower your grade point average is, the higher SAT test score you're required to have, and vice versa. So if you guys can lock in a really good grade point average in 9th grade, 1st and 2nd semester, and then maybe the 1st semester, 10th grade, you can make it doable. But what ended up happening, we never heard from these guys. So this kid had a chance to play on a Final Four team, go to a private school in Chicago, have a great life. But it did not happen in the fall of his 12th grade year. It started in 8th grade when he didn't take math seriously. And I really hope that people will remember all that, because all this training in the world doesn't make any difference if they can't get him into school.
Well, yeah, I'll go back on that. I come from the mentality that, like, everything that you do is important. So, you know, going all the way back, we say this in our culture: prepare for what's difficult when it's easy. So you don't want to start when it's too late. It's too late and you're done. You need to start with your academics. You're in kindergarten, you're first grade. You're not there for no reason. Everything is preparation for the big show. Everything you do. So like back in the day, I used to go on podcasts and stuff like that, and I wasn't very good, but it was all preparation to now I'm here. Same thing with that. And also, basketball, it's just like basketball. It's a multifaceted game. You need to have a lot of different things that you can do. And a lot of things need to come together to play this game. You can't just be able to shoot. You need to dribble, pass, run, defend, rebound, block out, take charges. It's the same thing. You have to be able to have good grades. Right. You have to be good character, good basketball player. You got to be structured. You have to have a lot of momentum and things going in your favor.
The big things are a function of all the little things. So the attention to detail, academically, is the same things. Attention to detail.
It's no different. I mean, if you can't figure out how to get through the school coursework, you can't. If you are a good person and good in academics, you'll be good in basketball, and it's for the most part, and it's vice versa.
Well, you know, one of the things too is that we always tell kids, you're here to go to school first, not play. If you can't handle the basketball side, when they first started no pass, no play in Texas, I had someone ask, "Are you mad that they're going to make a kid who can't pass not play?" I said, "No. If the kid can't pass, I don't want him to play. I mean, if a kid's not willing to get a minimum 70 average, he can't be serious about basketball. So if you really want to play basketball, value your education." So I think it's a great carrot on the stick. And when it first came out, everyone thought I'd be opposed to it. I said, no, actually, I'm in favor of it. I think, you go to school first, you go to school, and hopefully you can, tie it all together and get yourself a scholarship. But it's a multifaceted thing. Brian, listen, we're about to break off to our next break. We're going to come back in 180 seconds here. I think Brian may be bringing some players on. We'll be doing a couple interviews. We'll bring Alan Branch back on. I appreciate you guys listening in the last 12 minutes. Brian, I appreciate you sharing a little bit of the story of Indy Hoops and stepping in and sharing a little bit of your story. We're glad to have you here in Texas, and we'll get you back on the show again before we break out for finish up at 8 o'clock, okay?
Thank you. Everyone come out. Drive Nation.
All right. Drive Nation, Indy Hoops 3. Thanks, guys.